Alright, so once again, this is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College going through a series of video presentations based on the PowerPoint slides for Murox HTML5 and CSS3 4th edition, which is part of the Rankin Technical College Application and Web Development, or AWD1000, Web Development Technologies class. Pretty much smack dab in the middle of Chapter 13 here. And we've created our HTML form, and now I guess is the time to come in and start putting in some CSS. Alright, well let's think about stuff that we can do, and I'll put in a change or two, and then we'll go back and take a look at it. Now, normally I'd put the CSS in a separate file. Alright, but I'm going to put it in this file so I don't have to be constantly going back and forth between these two. So let's say, how about, for example, our labels, and we'll give our labels a width of 200, in fact not 200, let's make it 16 rems. Alright, let's see if that did anything. And I'm going to go back. There we go. It didn't do a doggone thing. And there's something else I have to do for labels. We're going to get to it. Take my word for it. Alright. Let's jump back into here. So this is what the author did. Text areas, which I didn't even put one in. A height of 5 ems and a width of 25 ems in a font family of Helvetica. Let's do this. Let's go and add what the author has here. Alright. So I'm going to literally take everything the author put here, and I'm going to put right up above my button. So right here, I'm going to go and paste that in. So we've got comments, we've got a text area. It's called comments with a placeholder that says, if you have any comments, please enter them here. Alright, and there's the end of our text area. And let's put in one more line break right there. Let's put in 2 of them. And we get rid of this one that's right here. Alright, so what did that do? Again, it's much easier to show you all the time. So look down here if you would. So I added this comments thing right here. See that? For some reason the placeholder didn't seem to work. Alright, so I don't think, at least I don't think it did. Now, let's, again, following the path of our author here, let's now come in and say for that text area, we want to give it a height of 5 ems. We want to give it a width of 25 ems. Remember, 5 ems is 80 pixels wide. 25 ems, I'm sorry, that's 5 ems is 80 pixels high. 25 ems is 400 pixels wide, and it'll have a font family. We'll try for Arial. If you have it, if you don't, try for Helvetica. If you don't have that, use sans serif. So I'm going to add that. And what I'll show you to first, if I type in something here, you can see the font that's being used right there. Alright. But I'm going to come back in to what we have here, go up to my style, and add that. Which again, it says what? Text area, we're giving it a height, we're giving it a width, and a font family, right? As always, this is the easy way to show you this stuff. Watch this field. Notice it's gotten much bigger, and when I start typing, it's got a different font than it had before. Alright? Text area is typically used for exactly what the author has shown you right there. And that is if you want to have a field or something in there that will allow the user to make comments. Alright. So here is, as it says, is the HTML for a form with label elements. Alright. I've already shown you something that looks similar to this. We could make something that looked just like it. I used my this was gender, and I kept them all on the same line. So he has line breaks, or she has line breaks in here. Same thing with the checkboxes. I kept mine for the contact via on the same line, so I don't have line breaks. Other than that, they're the same thing. All right. Accessibility guidelines. Notice use labels and radio buttons and checkboxes. So use labels with those two, so the user can click on the label next to it to select the control of the labels associated with it. As it says, this can also help with assistive devices. All right, this is what I wanted to show you, which was a field set and a legend. So let's do this. Again, I'm going to just grab what the author has here. I think I passed it. Or did I? There we go. So I'm going to put a field set in, and I'm going to put in a legend. Now, this legend isn't going to make much sense right now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the area that's got first name, last name, address, city, state, zip, and I'm going to put that into what's called a field set. All right. Now, that may not make any sense to you, but hopefully in a minute it will. Crust doesn't make much sense, so we'll call this personal info. Okay? So, I want to take everything up until the zip code. Everything up until the zip code. Right there. I'm going to tab it one more time. And right here, I'm going to end my field set. Alright, so what did that do? Again, I made the change because as always, it's easier to show you. See that? Now that's kind of big. You know, so I can change anything on here I want to, need to, have to change. Such as, I can come back in here and I can say, you know what, from my field set, I want the width of that to only be 50% of the screen. It's too big the way it was. Too wide, I should say. So I click that, and it's very obvious what we've just done there. All right. I could take another one, draw another one around here, or as many as I wanted to or needed to do. All right. It's a field set. You can see they've got two of them here. All right. The HTML for a file upload control that accepts JPEG and GIF images. File upload, what this says is it's going to give you that button. That's the file upload button. And we're only going to accept JPEGs or GIFs. So when you click here for choose file, the only ones that will be shown are JPEGs and GIFs. All right. Now, this looks a little nicer. Notice how everything is set up, and that reminds me, down at the bottom here, at the bottom, not at the top, I put in this submit button. Right next to it, and I'm going to put here ampersand NBSP for putting in a blank space. I'm going to stick in about 3 of those. All right, I'm going to put another button in here, and it's going to say reset. And this will say reset. What does that do? Well, again, as always, easiest to show you. There's the reset button. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to type in Jeff Scott 755 Parr Road, Wentzville, Missouri 63385. Email jpscott@rankin.edu. Age, I'm 62. Gender, I'm male. Contact me. Let's say email is fine. What an awesome form. All right, so you can see everything. I'm going to shrink this down. Watch what happens when I click the reset button. Is that pretty obvious? It sets everything back to their default values. All right. So here's the form. That's what I want. Float left and then the width. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab everything they have here for their CSS, and I'm just going to steal it. All right? So we come back up here, jump back up towards the top, and remove this thing for the label that I put in that was erroneous, and fix these. I like to put my CSS, my curlies, on their own line, and I'm a little anal about that. Some people hate the fact that I do that. Most people could care less. So what is this saying? This is saying I want my labels to float to the left, so they should be way to the left. The width should be 5em, so they should be 80 pixels wide, and the text that's in them should align to the right. All the things that go with them, the inputs, should have a left margin of 1em, so there should be 16 pixels between where the label ends and the input begins, and they should have a bottom of 5em. Probably with this bottom here, I can probably get rid of my line breaks. And my buttons should have a left margin of 7em. Again, as always, easiest to save this, go back here and refresh. Now you can see how nicely all of these line up. Now, notice the one that doesn't. All right? And that's the state. Why? Because the state, unlike the other ones that are here, the state is not, all right, the state is a drop down. So what I can do is I can say not just for my inputs, but also for my select. I think it's the select. We're going to find out right now. And you can see how it moved it over. Now, look at the width. I don't really like that. I could play with the width on here if I wanted to, if I was going to be that anal about it. All right? And you'll notice how now this with the field set, how that's pressing right up against there. Let's remove that. So we will remove the field set because I was just put it in there just to show it to you, for lack of better words, as a learning tool. And I'm going to grab everything that we had up here that was inside of our field set. And I'm going to tab it back over and then get rid of this field set that's here. All right. That should work. And you'll notice now how nicely all of these are lining up. Now that contact via doesn't work. It says contact you via. Why? Because what I set up here for my labels was I wanted my labels to have a width of 5em. Notice if I change it from 5em to 6em, which makes them 16 pixels wider, but by doing that, watch the contact you via right now. Well, still isn't enough. All right. How about we'll get rid of the word you and we just say contact via. There it is. I think that'll look a little nicer once we've done that. All right, there we go. So all this is lining up now. This we could move over. It's not that big a thing. All right. But what is that? That's a label for a text here. In fact, we didn't make it a label. Okay. But if I do come in and change that from here, if I change that to a label, and then I come in here and I say like that. Let's see if that changed it. Refresh, and you'll notice now how that lines up as well. I could push this over. It's not that big a thing. You notice with very little CSS though, I'm getting a fairly nice looking form. All right, that was the goal here. That was what I wanted to show you. All right. Forms, once you get used to them, they're a nice thing to have. All right. Here was all the stuff that they used. I'm not going to put all that in there, but you'll notice they put blue writing here, etc. I could put all the stuff they have in here in mine as well, and it would work just fine. All right. In fact, what the heck? Let's just go and take all their stuff that they've got right here. Oops. All right. And we'll grab all of it. What I'm going to do, in case later I decide I like mine better, because I kind of like the way this looks right now, is I'm going to take all of my styling that I put in, and I'm just going to comment all of it out, so I can put the authors in. All right, pretty ugly looking, but we'll fix this up. We'll pretty it up right now. Let's move this over. The other reason I wanted to do this, or decided to do this, is just to show you putting different type of CSS in there, putting some different CSS in there. You can make marked differences in the way your form looks. All right, and it's not like you have to spend a lot of time doing this. I'm literally spending minutes, and part of it is because I'm just anal about lining stuff up. All right. Now you'll notice here this has an ID of button, okay, and I didn't put any IDs in on mine, so the buttons aren't going to look a bit different. So I'm going to add those, see if there's anything else I need to add. Input, no, okay. So I'm going to have to make a buttons, are going to have an ID, the first one a button and reset, and the second one an ID of button. Alright, so I do have it. Alright. Okay, so I've got an ID. Let's see, I've got an ID here of submit. I'll just change this one to an ID of button. In fact, I don't even like that. Let's see, what did we put up here? Said a button will have a left margin of 0.9 em. I think that's the first one. This is the reset one here. All right. In fact, this is both of them. The first one we want to have, so this is just submit. All right, so now I can come back. So let's see. This will be for all buttons, and this will be for anything with a class of reset. So this will be the reset only. So I should be able to come in here and change this to pound submit. Again, because I used a different wording structure than the author did. That's the only reason. So submit, submit, make that submit again. All right, so now for the unveiling, here's the authors. All right, well, you see how it goofed this stuff up, but look over here. I've got blue. Anytime I click in a field, you can see it now has the blue highlight. All right, this screwed up my stuff that's right here because I have no CSS for them now. Okay, not a big thing. All right, did I make it? I actually did make it look better. I'd have to play around with this stuff a little bit. All right, but you can see how it's really coming together now. All right, let me go a little further, and we will have a part 3 for this. All right. Access keys, if I set an access key, that means I can usually either do a Control F or an Alt F in this example to bring something up. Accessibility guidelines, having a nice tab order can make it easy for a person who has a harder time using a mouse to get their way around the screen. All right, we're right here. And again, we're at 20 minutes. So before I go into autocomplete required and no validate, let's stop with part 2 here, and then we'll pick it up with part 3 in just a couple minutes.